We ask now that you take a moment to silence your cell phones out of respect for your fellows. And we'll now pass the basket in honor of our seventh tradition, which states every AA group ought to be self-supporting, declining outside contributions. $15 will go towards rent of this meeting space. The rest will go to District 17. The AA Preamble. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of people who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution. Does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. Welcome to the Racine AA Archives speaker meeting. Consistent with Alcoholics Anonymous General Service Archives mission, our purpose is to document permanently the work of Alcoholics Anonymous, to make the history of the organization accessible to AA members and other researchers, and to provide a context for understanding AA's progression, principles, and traditions. We will meet here at the Grove Club the last Sunday of every month. The first half of the meeting will be a question and answer period, followed by a break. After the break, our speaker will resume with sharing their experience, strength, and hope pertaining to a chosen page from the Big Book. This meeting will be recorded and stored at the Racine Area Central Office. A digital copy will be sent to Area 75 Archives. You may contact District 17 Archives Chair to arrange access to the recordings. Is there anyone here with less than 30 days sobriety? Please raise your hand.
All right.
This is not to single anyone out, but simply to welcome you. Is there anyone here with 15 years or more than 15 years of sobriety? Please raise your hand. The speakers selected for this meeting are old timers. An AA old timer is any member who has been continuously sober for a significant period of time. The definition of significant is open to interpretation and varies widely. For the purposes of this meeting, an old timer is considered anyone with 20 years or more of sobriety. The old timers' interviews serve as a representation of the significant impact and long-term sobriety can have on our AA community. Without further ado, I will now introduce Jon, and then we'll go.
Hi, I'm Jon.
Now we have some questions here to ask, and then
They're not hard, are they?
No, they're
Okay.
not hard.
All right.
What is your sobriety date?
Oh, May 4th of 1997.
Quite a few years. Who was the United States president when you joined AA?
Bill Clinton. I had to look that up, by the way. She sent me this, and I thought it was Bill Clinton, but I wasn't sure. Yeah.
And when and where was your first contact with AA?
Okay, so a little history there, right? My first contact with Alcoholics Anonymous was right here on a Monday night. It was in November of 1996, and I had reached out to my dad. My dad had gotten sober in Alcoholics Anonymous, and he knew enough to bring me here. And there are two gentlemen here. I haven't seen either one of them since I've come here, except for one guy who was kind of in and out again. But I sat in a table right there with my dad and two guys and told them all my woes and walked out of here crying. That was my first contact with Alcoholics Anonymous, just before Thanksgiving in 1996.
Can you describe what Alcoholics Anonymous was like back then compared to today?
Ooh, yeah, sure. I thought about this because she sent this to me, so I wrote down a couple of things. I think that anybody that's been around for 20, well, I'll be 29 years sober. And when I sobered up, the Grove Club, which is where I sobered up, kind of lived here, was the only game in town. There was the Alamo Club, there was a Benjamin House, and there was one book study here. It was Friday night downstairs, and they were going through the 12 and 12. And then there was another book study that my sponsor sent me to, and that became my home group. But so the landscape of Alcoholics Anonymous at that time was a lot of step and topic meetings, right? I think kind of like what the flavor of most 430 meetings still are here at the Grove Club. There were not a lot of book studies. There were some, but there were not a lot. And I don't know that necessarily means that people weren't in the book. It's just that I don't know that they were in the book as a group, right? So that I've watched that change here. I've watched that for the better, in my opinion. I've watched that change considerably in Racine. There's book studies everywhere. People are in the book. There's and different versions of book studies. So that's one change that I've noticed. And then I was thinking about this. There's another thing that I've noticed with Alcoholics Anonymous that's changed, and I don't really know how to define or explain this. But I became a GSR at like 6 or 7 months sober, and I remember going to my first district meeting, and those district meetings used to be held here. This room was full. The AA service community and AA service structure, the business of Alcoholics Anonymous was very vibrant. And it seems that that's not the case now. There are constant positions open, constantly trying to drive people into service work. That's one thing that I've noticed. Other than that, that's it. I'm going to leave it at that.
Good. And then what were you like as a newcomer?
The couple guys over there, I can tell you what I was like. I'm fortunate, right? I've been here long enough, and there's guys that have been here before me that are still here. Interesting, I got that sheet from Sam, and my wife and I were up north, and I pulled it off, and so I had my wife and I looked at it, and I said, "So honey, what was I like when I came here?" And she said, "Well, just tell them you were a mess." The truth of the matter is, I was dying. I came here hopeless, and I was scared, and I was mad. And I've seen people come in now, which is another benefit of being here for a while. I've seen people walk in the doors of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I see somebody, and I go, man, that is exactly how I was, right? And when I look at them, I go, radioactive. I mean, I was radioactive. I had no idea what was going on, and I needed a drink, and I was somehow how am I not going to drink today? And I was just grabbing on. So I was scared. And the other thing is, I was a lot thinner, and a lot thinner and probably a lot better looking. So I'll leave it at that.
You think other people would describe you, or how do you think other people would describe you when you were a newcomer? What do you think others saw you
Jimmy,
as?
Mark, you guys want to answer that question? They probably saw what I just defined when I see the new guy that walks in the door. I was hopeless. I was scared and hopeless and hanging on. When I finally came to Alcoholics Anonymous, I was done, and I didn't know what to do. So I don't know, was that an accurate description?
Good.
Those are the guys to ask.
And who was your first sponsor, and how did you end up with them?
My first sponsor was Bud W. I got him here at the Grove Club. There's some backstory to that, but I had kind of been in and out of a treatment, and I made a promise to them that I'd get a sponsor. And I had been going to, I don't know, as many meetings as I could go to day after day after day, and there was one guy that was like in every meeting that I was in, and seemed like a decent enough guy. But I had drank, and I came back, and I was told that I had to apologize to Alcoholics Anonymous because I had been coming to meetings drunk. And so I confessed here that I needed to owe Alcoholics Anonymous an apology for coming drunk. And what I remember from that meeting was a lot of, as I keep coming back. But I think more importantly, what I remembered from that meeting was Bud, because he looked at me, and I can glorify this and make it big, because in my mind I remember him jumping on the table and coming across it, telling me that I don't know anybody, right? But there was one guy in that meeting that told me the truth. He told me not to waste our time and not to waste his time unless I was ready to come here and not be drinking. We're not here to coddle you. We're about business. We mean business, and we want to get sober, stay here. That's the guy that I picked to be my sponsor, and that's how it happened. And he was my sponsor until he retired and moved to Florida 12 years ago or so. So, yeah.
Can you think of any AA catastrophe or catchphrases? Catastrophes. Can you think of any
I
AA?
can think of a few of those.
Yeah. Not what I meant. Any AA catchphrases from back then that you don't hear anymore, or you don't hear as often today?
I think one that I don't hear that often anymore, and there used to be little medallions, and people used to say "screw guilt," and I never really understood that as a screw going through the word guilt. But other than that, all the catchphrases, I think, for the most part, are all still current with when I came in. One day at a time, live and let live, all the things. Yeah.
Did you get involved? Well, I think you already answered this about getting involved in service work early on.
Yep, my first service position was here at the Grove Club. I was 5 months sober, and I was the AA coordinator. Again, because I was living here and doing all the things here, I was in meetings all the time. My guy said, "You can go do that." And my sponsor said, "Yeah, you can go do that." And I served the Grove Club. Shortly thereafter that, my home, which became my home group, made me a GSR. And I don't know how long I had been sober, 8, 9 months sober or whatever, something like that. I became a GSR for my home group. So.
And what kind of events or sober activities were there when you got sober?
90 dances in 90 days. There was literally a dance here, as I remember, and I don't know if this is accurate or not. There was a dance here every weekend at the Grove. It seemed like it. Every weekend or every other weekend, maybe it was once a month, but as far as outside that's what was going on. There was that, and then I remember going to my first mini conference, and I remember going to other conferences. Were there other things going on outside of the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous? Yeah, I remember being house, people invited me to their house, playing. It was the middle of summer, doing things, but as far as organized events and things going on, that's what I remember. A lot of dances.
Your first home group, what was your first home group, and why did you decide to make that group your home group?
My first home group, which is currently still my home group, is the By the Book meeting. We meet at the Church of Covenant on 40 Ohio Street. And how I ended up going there, I actually went there kind of by myself by accident. It was a speaker meeting. I sobered up the first week of May, and that they still have a speaker meeting the second Thursday of the month. And I was there, and I went in there, and there was a speaker meeting. There was a 10-minute speaker there. I related to what he had to say, whatever. I came back. I had just gotten a sponsor, and I went to that meeting, and my sponsor said, go to that meeting. My sponsor didn't attend that meeting, but he said, yeah, go to that meeting. Go and do it. They're doing really good stuff over there. And so that became my home group. It still is. So, yeah.
And then, what do you remember the most about the first time you sponsored someone?
I've been thinking about this. The very first guy that I sponsored, I might have been a year sober. And it was a guy that was coming here. His name was Tony. I remember his name, and I could probably drive you to where he lived. So what I remember about Tony is I was going to save Tony. And I remember Tony didn't show up for a meeting, and I drove to Tony's house, and Tony's mom threw me off his front porch. So I learned a lot from the first guy that I sponsored. I remember coming back and telling my sponsor about that. I can't believe, man, she threw me out the front porch, and him going, where in the hell does it say anywhere in our literature that you're going to go and do that? Right? So I learned, I would much rather talk about the second and the third guy I sponsored because one of them's still around, but anyway, there you go.
And then what do you remember the most about the first time you were sponsored?
Bud saved my life. I had a man who took the time, spent the time with me, introduced me, and reintroduced me to life. I'm forever grateful for my first sponsor. That's why I'm sitting here today, I believe. So. Yeah.
And then what is prayer to you, and what are your prayer habits like?
So I got a sponsor. I just went through that whole deal. The very first assignment he gave me was to, we sat and talked a little bit about God and where I stood on that. And he kind of put the brakes on that. And he said, look, he goes, I want you to get one of these meditation books, and I want you to get on your knees. And he suggested the Daily Reflections, because that's the one that he was reading. And he said, I want you to get on your knees, and I want you to ask God to be a part of your life. And so I was 3 days sober, 4 days sober maybe at the time. And I've done that from that point to this point. I start my day asking God to be a part of my life. I read that meditation. Today I reflect on that and ask what it means to me. And so that's what prayer, when it comes to recovery, looks like. That has certainly changed dramatically over time. My prayer life, I spent this morning praying for a couple of the guys that are in this room today. I spent a little bit of time last night after I left the thing here last night, which was pretty cool. I spent a little bit of time last night praying and reflecting on some of the things that are going on in my wife's family, and praying for some answers on how to show up there and how to be a part of their lives. So prayer as a whole, right, has kind of morphed into something that I wouldn't have ever been able to even wrap my arms around. So I'll leave it at that.
Very good. Okay, we'll take a short break, and after the break, our speaker Jon will resume with sharing their experience, strength, and hope. All right, after our break here, our speaker Jon will resume sharing his experience, strength, and hope pertaining to a chosen page from the big book.
Hey everybody, I'm Jon. I'm an alcoholic. So, Sam sent me the thing and said you got to pick one page out of the big book, and I sat all afternoon trying to find the perfect page in the big book, and just one page, and I was getting a little frustrated and kind of watching a football game, and so I said to my wife, I said, what's your favorite page in the big book? My wife's not an alcoholic. She said, well, I don't know. Is there what's the page in there what's the page in there where you guys, where you guys lean on each other and get together and do all of that stuff so you become better men? Whoa. Hit me hard, right? That's my wife's experience with Alcoholics Anonymous. And I don't know that another thing ever needs to be said for my gratitude for the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. But there are a couple things. I'm not going to just do one page. I'm going to be real quick about doing a couple of these things because they tie together. One thing that hit me hard when I came here, because I really didn't think that this would work for me. When they described the hopeless state of the alcoholic, I'm all of that. I'm in this book. I could not go a day without drinking. That's the truth. The last 3-4 years prior to me coming here, I was in a drunken state of some sort or another. I had lost everything. And so I come here and I got nothing, no family, wife's kicked me out. I'm not welcome to go to my parents' house. So I come here and I sit down and I start to go to this book study. And they started right in the beginning of the book. When I sobered up, we could probably go to the church, we could probably go to the Bible book archives and find where Mike and Mark were just starting the big book, and I had landed in that meeting. There's a part here in the forward to the second edition. I will never forget this being read. There are two principal reasons why there's the acceptance of Alcoholics Anonymous. The large numbers of recoveries and reunited homes. These made their impressions everywhere. Of alcoholics who came to AA and really tried, 50% got sober at once and remained that way. 25% sobered up after some relapses, and among the remainder, those who stayed on with AA showed improvement. Other thousands came to a few AA meetings and at first decided they didn't want the program, but great numbers of these, about 2 out of 3, began to return as time passed. I didn't think that I would be able to go a day without drinking. And I really didn't think or believe that what you guys had here would work for me. But I was so damn desperate that I was willing to try. And I took direction right out of the gate here. I relied on the AA hotline, which is still active here. Oh, I know, there was another change. Some of the things that changed, you used to have to wear a suit when you spoke, right? We don't do that anymore. And the other thing that's changed in Alcoholics Anonymous since I came in is this. We did not have these. There was not a cell phone to be found in an AA meeting in 1997. If there was, it was one of those ones that was on a cord in a bag, right? So there's been a lot of things that have changed, but I'm going to tell you, getting sober was not an easy task for me, and I got to tell you, I'm grateful for that. I can't express this enough. If I thought at any given time when I came in here that I had another drink in me or there was another way out, I wouldn't be here. I hung on to Alcoholics Anonymous for dear life. Right? Because I woke up every morning and I had to drink. And I somehow made it through the day by doing what you guys told me to do, and I survived. And when I read this, for the first time in a very, very long time for this guy, I actually thought maybe there was some hope, that maybe I was going to be all right, right? So now, fast forward, I do all this stuff, and I start to do all these things, and we start to have all these promises. I'm going to get to what my wife's whole deal is, right? I got one more thing I want to read. Watch out. Man down. In that same chapter, in a forward to, where is it in the doctor's opinion? XVII. Bear with me, guys. I'm so sorry. I really wanted to be better prepared, but it didn't work out that way. There's a part in here that talks about the real alcoholic. And we reached the point of no return, where there's nothing outside of a spiritual, an act of providence that'll take us out of it. But there's also a line in there that says, oddly enough, those same individuals once they grasp onto the spiritual program that we offer here, go on and live their lives in remarkable ways, almost like it's a miracle, right? So if you look at John, you look at me from the point I came in to where I sit today, now considered an old timer in AA, I just think that's hilarious. My life doesn't look anything like it did when I came in here. Not even, it's not even close. All that was required of me, I really wanted to find that. I had a dog-eared and now I can't find it. The only thing that was really required of me, or is required of us, is to follow a few simple rules. There's that one sentence in there, right? We can bumble through, and I think it's in Doctor's Opinion, bumble through all this stuff, do all these things, right? And then we come here and we get a hold of this, and if you actually live in what we do, our lives become unrecognizable. But I have to follow a few simple rules. So I'm going to go back to how grateful I am that I was so defeated and so desperate that I really didn't argue too much. I hung up the phone on my sponsor a lot because he'd tell me things, and that's another thing that's lacking in today. You can't really hang this thing up where it has some authority. You know what I mean? But I'd talk to him on the phone, and he'd say some things to me on the phone that I didn't like, and I'd hang up the phone on him. But somehow, some way, I took the direction. I was desperate enough to do what I was asked to do here, and as a result of that, right, amazing things happen. We're told that. I'm going to jump to where I really want to go. If you don't know, I've had a hell of a year. There's been a lot going on in our family. A lot of tragedy, right? I lost my brother-in-law a year ago to brain cancer. I lost my nephew lost his wife in June to brain cancer, and then a couple months ago in October, my wife, they found a brain tumor. And thankfully, it was malignant, and they have it out. You wouldn't even know there's anything wrong with my wife. But if you take that whole year, just that year, from January to January, and you go, Jesus, how the hell did I get through all of that? Right? I mean, I look back on it and I'm in awe. And I think more importantly, my wife, right? My wife is in awe, and she pretty much just said that before I came here tonight. I was meeting with a guy I sponsored not too long ago. You spend some time on Facebook or whatever, and you see all these, there's a lot of crap on there, but there's some good stuff on there, spiritual stuff and things like this. You feed through all the bullshit. But there was one on there that where the guy said, I don't know what the pretense was or whatever. He just said, I do all these things, and I mean, he wasn't an alcoholic. That has nothing to do with it. But the spiritual message behind it was, all I really want when they bury me is to know that my wife was proud of me. And I went, wow. Think about that, right? I shared that with a guy, sponsor who's married too. It's like, well, I tell you what, that's a pretty high, that's a pretty high mark, man. I don't know about that. I'm a product of Alcoholics Anonymous. Anything and everything that I do that is good in any way, shape, or form is because of this program. On my own, you don't want to be around me. My default, I'm a dick. I mean, that's my default. My default is untrusting, unreliable, lie, cheat, whatever. somehow the majority of that stuff has been removed as a result of living in the spiritual program of Alcoholics Anonymous, when all I wanted to do is not drink a day at a time. I didn't come here for that. I didn't come here to try to make my wife proud of me. I didn't come here to try to be a good dude. You know, I didn't come here for that. I didn't go, hey, I just want to be a good dude. That's not why I came here. I came here because I was dying. And I remember sitting down in the basement with my sponsor. We read a few things, and we went to the end of the book, and we talked about the spiritual experience or spiritual awakening in the back of the book. And I don't know, I was a couple weeks sober maybe. I'm going to 12 meetings a week. I mean, I just, hanging on by a thread, and I'm not really understanding what's going on. But he made me a promise down in that basement. He said, I'll tell you what, John, I'll make you a promise. He says, I'll tell you, if you do this one day at a time, number one, you'll never have to pick up a drink or a drug again. If you do this one day at a time, you'll never have to pick up a drink or a drug again. And he said, if you live in what we do here a day at a time, you will become a better man. Now, I don't know where it says that in here. We're going to become better men. You're going to become it tells us that we work through our struggles, we work through our defects so that we can work through those so that we can live a life of love and service and do all that. Well, as a result of doing that book of work, we become better men, right? I fall short, believe me. I do. I fall short. I'll give you another example of that. I wanted to go into a vision for you and talk about all the things that we do and how we go through life together and all the things that we do here together. I want to talk about that because of how important it is to me in my life today. My first sponsor moved to Florida. I'd have started to become pretty successful in my career, doing a lot of different things, but we lean on each other here. I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm grateful that I've got guys in my life, right, that allow me to lean on them. And there's another thing my wife said. She goes, is there something in there? I hear you say all the time, because she hears me talk to guys. If I sponsor you, my wife hears my end of the conversation sometimes. She goes, I hear you tell those guys all the time how you're showing up, right? And I've been taught that here, how to show up. And she goes, I'm just amazed at how you guys show up. And there's something here, and she's in awe of what we do here for each other, right? Of how we live our lives, how transparent and honest and open we are with each other, and what that ends up looking like, and the strength and the power that's a part of that, right? I think that's pretty cool, because if I don't hear that from her, I tend to take it for granted. I don't even know that I'm living that way. But that's the reality. It's around the thing here, right? Life will take on a new meaning, to watch people recover, to see them help others. Loneliness will vanish. These will become a bright spot of our lives. This becomes a bright spot of our lives is how that ends, right? And I just came here to not drink. But the reality is, my life today is full, and this is the bright spot of my life. I don't know what I'm doing most of the time. I have an experience from point A to point B. I've never been here before. So I'm pretty tight with my sponsor right now. I'm grateful for the relationship that I have right now with my sponsor. And he's held my hand through this year and helped me out. And I'll tell you what, I did really well with the shit with my brother-in-law. There's a whole side story behind that. This brother-in-law, when I made my amend to him, he sat in the living room across from me and basically told me, John, if it was up to me, you would not be in my living room right now, and if it was up to me, you would be nowhere near my family ever. That was 29 years ago, or 28 years ago, right? A couple weeks before he died, I sat on the couch with that man, and he said, watch over my boys and watch over my wife. right? How does that happen? How does that happen? So I go through all that. I show up. I have to do his eulogy. I have to do all this stuff, right? And then I have this nephew. His son loses his wife to recurring metastatic breast cancer and what got in her bones. Anyway, took her out, and so now I show up for this young man. He's not one of us, but I show up for him and sit and talk. I'm able to get through all of that. I'm able to see all the things going on in the family. I've learned how to show up and support my wife, and I've learned how to show up and not have to fix everything, but just be there. Well, when I got the call that Mary had a brain tumor, I was in the basement in my workshop, and I'm just like, man, enough's enough, right? So I called Jimmy up, and I go, oh, Jimmy, man, I don't know, man. It's just too much. I was crying. It's too much. Can't take it. The voice on the other end of the phone says, yeah, man, it's tough. I love you. I'm here for you. If there's anything you need from me. And he said, just consider you're equipped to handle this. I went, what? You're equipped to handle this. God has put you in a position. God has put you in a position to handle this. I went, yeah. Wow. A loving God through the 12-step spiritual principles of Alcoholics Anonymous, right? Doing this stuff one day at a time. God comes in, does his work. He takes a guy like me, right? A guy like me. Takes a guy like me and says, you're the guy. You're the guy. I'm going to use you. Well, I don't want that job. No, we're going to use you, right? That's pretty cool stuff, right? That's pretty powerful stuff. I just don't want to drink. I just don't want to pick up a drink, right? Well, I'll tell you what. We have a solution for that here. We have a 12-step spiritual program of recovery. And I have an experience here. If you live in everything that we do here, all of it, follow a few simple rules, right? All of it. If you do all of it, there's no telling what your life's going to look like, right? Nobody here can tell you what it's going to look like, right? So I'm grateful for that, beyond belief. My wife and I live a pretty amazing life. There's more to that story. I didn't come to Alcoholics Anonymous and got together with my wife and everything was groovy, right? It took a lot of fucking work. It took a lot of work. When I came into Alcoholics Anonymous, I honestly didn't believe that there was a chance in hell that I was ever going to be back with my wife. In fact, I sat here with no place to go, no one to go, and no one to lean on, and no hope. I really didn't think in a million years that I would get back with my wife. But something in her triggered, and she didn't file the divorce papers. She kind of sat back and waited. We shared a 9-year-old son. We share a son, and he was 9 years old at the time. I wasn't able to see him without a chaperone for a long time. And slowly but surely, she let me back. She let me back into her life, and we have built a life here. You guys, Alcoholics Anonymous, has built a man here that can show up. You've built a man here that can, that somebody can. I'm all right. I think I'm okay, right? I'm pretty reliable most of the time, right? I care for people. I really do. Something that I didn't have before I came here. I love Alcoholics Anonymous. I don't know how much time I have, but I wanna read something here. kind of bounced all over the place. I should have been better prepared. Oh, here it is. Hey, look at that. This I put it on my phone. Yeah, look at that. Here it is. So here it is. I'm going to read what I've been talking about the whole time. Men and women drink essentially because they like the effect produced by alcohol. The sensation is so elusive that, while they admit it is injurious, they cannot, after a time, differentiate the true from the false. To them, their alcoholic life seems the only normal one. They are restless, irritable, and discontented unless they can again experience the sense of ease and comfort which comes at once by taking a few drinks which they see others taking with impunity. After they have succumbed to desire again, as so many do, and the phenomenon of craving develops, they pass through well-known stages of a spree, emerging remorseful with a firm resolution not to drink again. This is repeated over and over, and unless this person can experience an entire psychic change, there is very little hope of his recovery. On the other hand, and strange as this may seem to those who do not understand, once a psychic change has occurred, the very same person who seemed doomed, who had so many problems he despaired of ever solving them, suddenly finds himself easily able to control his desire for alcohol, the only effort necessary being that required to follow a few simple rules. So, we do all these things. We live this way. In the 10th and 11th step, there's a lot of really good stuff. I almost picked that part to read tonight. It talks about how we live our lives now, right? There's nothing in here that says I'm going to surrender to the 12-step program of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I'm never going to get stressed. I'm never going to get pressed again. That's an unrealistic expectation. The reality is life is hard. All of it's hard. It's hard. I have no idea. I don't know what I'm doing, and there's not one man or woman in here that does. Nobody has all the answers, right? It's hard. The unknown, all of the things that I don't know is hard. But what Alcoholics Anonymous does give me is the ability to look at myself, the ability to learn truths about myself. I know what my character flaws are. I know that. I'll tell you what, I know acutely what they are now. The longer you're here, the more they surface, right? I have an ego problem. I have a low self-esteem problem, right? I mean, all those things still exist, right? It gives us clear-cut direction on what to do with all of that stuff. If you're walking around pissed off at somebody, that's on you, man. There's a solution for that. If I'm having a bad day, that's on me. There's a solution for that. I can giddy up and get out of that right now. Right now. Immediately. If I'm carrying shit around, that's on me. And I do it. I still do it. I will still do it. I am given direction on how to live and how to overcome those things. Because all of that stuff, the resentment, the anger, all of those things, there's a drink on the other side of that. I got to remember, why did I come here? I came here to not drink. So if I think that I got shoulders big enough now to harbor some resentments, right? Well, if I harbor them long enough, I'm going to get squeezed to the point to where someone's got to give. I'm either going to drink or somebody's going to get hurt, right? Neither one of them's good. There's an analogy that I don't know if I stole this somewhere or if I just was brilliant one day and came up with it. But it's the analogy of the pressure cooker. In fact, I think that I may have actually come up with it because I had my mom over and we were doing some canning. And if you take a pressure cooker and you put it on the stove and you put things in that pressure cooker, you intentionally turn up the heat and you intentionally build pressure. So it's under constant pressure, and there's a release valve, right? The release valve will let the pressure out. If the release valve doesn't release, you got a problem. In fact, not many people do pressure canning anymore because it's dangerous as hell. That little pressure release gets squeezed, it blows up, right? The pressure becomes so great that it blows up. You take the same analogy and put it to John, right? Truth is, to one degree or another, I'm under some kind of constant pressure. Something's going on. There's some kind of pressure going on, right? Well, I have a choice to let that pressure build and build and build and build and build until the release valve goes off. I'm going to scream into a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous real quick. I've done that, right? Oh, I need a meeting, right? Or I can turn down the fucking flame. Don't even ignite the stove. Problem solved. No pressure. Don't have to worry about the pressure. So how do I keep the flame off, right? How do I keep myself from lighting the flame again? How do I keep myself from getting mad? Right? I'm going to get mad, and I'm going to hang on to it. I'm going to turn up the flame. Oh, he needs to die. Well, how do I prevent getting mad in the first place, right? If we really live, and this is true, the best version of John is when he's living where I'm going to tell you, in a complete life of love and service. If my life is nothing more than love and service, serving, not thinking about me, I don't give myself a chance to get me on me, a chance to light the stove, a chance to turn up the flame, a chance to, well, yeah, but they deserve it, right? Alcoholics Anonymous does that. Alcoholics Anonymous does that. It does that for me. When I choose, as long as I'm willing to live by a few simple rules. I'm going to close with this. A couple of you have heard me share this. I'm sorry, but it's really important to me, and it meant a lot to me. A couple of things that I think everybody needs to understand, or I'd like for everybody to understand. Let's put it that way. I love Alcoholics Anonymous. I love everything about it. I get excited. I get excited about Alcoholics Anonymous. I get excited when the new guy comes in. I get excited when the new guy comes in and just starts to grab hold of it a little bit, right? I get excited when those things, right? I just say, it's like, yeah, man, fuck yeah, right? Yeah, man, right? I get excited when I see families reunited. I get excited when I'm invited to be a part of men's lives. All of it. I get excited about it. It's a privilege. It's an honor for a guy like me. I'm a drunken junkie, man. You guys are inviting me into your house. You nuts? So I get excited about it, and it means the world to me. I hope one of the questions to what we were doing here was, what's your prayer life like? I didn't know that. I didn't know how this all went. I often pray for continued humility, because if I can live in a humble state, I tend to live better in love and service, because then I'm not thinking about me. I say that prayer quite a bit because I fall short, right? That's the reality. I'm going to read Dr. Bob's last statement, last message. I don't know how many years ago it's been now. It might be 10 years ago or more. Somewhere along the line, Racine Area Central Office was struggling, and somebody had asked me to be a part of it, and my ego told me I could save it. But there was a good reason for it. As a result of going there, I got to learn a little bit. I learned a little bit of the history of central office here, not somebody's opinion on what that history is versus somebody else's or whatever. My son lives in New York, so I went out a day early. We had some plans to do some things, and I went to the big house. I went to GSO. GSO is the General Service Office of Alcoholics Anonymous, if you don't know that. And I went there to get some answers. I went to the GSO to go and talk to them and tell them, I'm the new chairperson of Racine Area Central Office. Don't you know who I am? We're in trouble, and we need some help. I don't think we know what we're doing. I'm going to finish that story. So I finally get a guy, and we go in, kind of walk through, give me a tour of the GSO, the office. I thought it was going to be the Taj Mahal. It's not. It's the 8th floor of an office building. And I finally get a guy, and I sit down with him and sit down and chat a little bit, tell him what's going on. He goes, oh, you know, Harry's not here, but hang on a second. Reaches behind. There it is. Good luck to you. He gave me the AA suggested structure to run a central office or an intergroup. It put absolutely everything into perspective. None of us have any ideas, or none of us have any answers. It's all in God's hands. If we serve, things work out. And that's really the spirit of what that whole pamphlet is all about. But anyway, when I got off the elevators on the 8th floor, the elevators open up, and then they have big raised print. They have something from Bill over there. The elevator door that opened up for me, I was looking at Dr. Bob's farewell address. And I love this because it puts everything into perspective for me and where I'm at now in my life and in my journey in Alcoholics Anonymous. My good friends in AA and of AA, I get a big thrill out of looking over a vast sea of faces like this with the feeling that possibly some small thing that I did a number of years ago played an infinitely small part in making this meeting possible. I also get quite a thrill when I think that we all had the same problem. We all did the same things. We all get the same results in proportion to our zeal and enthusiasm and stick-to-itiveness. If you will pardon the injection of a personal note at this time, let me say that I've been in bed the last 5 or 7 days. There are 2 or 3 things that flash into my mind on which it would be fitting to lay a little emphasis. One is the simplicity of our program. Let's not louse it all up with Freudian complexes and things that are interesting to the scientific mind, but have very little to do with our actual AA work. Our 12 steps, when simmered down to the last, resolve themselves into the words love and service. We understand what love is, and we understand what service is, so let's bear those 2 things in mind. Let us also remember to guard that erring member of the tongue, and if we must use it, let's use it with kindness and consideration and tolerance. And one more thing, none of us would be here today if somebody hadn't taken time to explain things to us, to give us a little pat on the back, to take us to a meeting or 2, to do numerous little kind and thoughtful acts in our behalf. So let us never get such a degree of smug complacency that we're not willing to extend or attempt to extend to our less fortunate brothers that help which has been so beneficial to us. Thank you very much. That's it for me.